everybody. Welcome back. It's time for today's comedian. Now, he comes from Melrose, Massachusetts, and you can check him out at the Comedy Studio in Cambridge every Friday night. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, Ken Reid.
Thank you, everybody. So I grew this beard recently, and I don't know how I feel about it, really. The jury's still kind of out. I feel like it accentuates my ethnicity more than I'm comfortable with, because it's probably pretty obvious to everybody that I am a Norwegian person. Pretty classic Norwegian look, all the Norwegian stereotypes right here. Not at all. We have no stereotypes. It's very disheartening. I grew up just outside of Boston in a very white suburb where all the kids sort of latched onto the ethnicity of their grandparents in order to pretend that they were interesting. And everyone was pretty much either Irish, Italian, or the black kid. We had one black kid. And so I didn't get to play any of the games. Like, that's how they would even pick kickball teams. They would be like, Irish versus Italian, black kid's the ref. And I was like, you guys have fun. You enjoy that. And I'll stand here. And they had these great insults for each other that I didn't get to be a part of because we have no racial slurs for Norwegian people. And they'd be like, oh, here's Patrick, he has microscopic genitalia. Or like, oh, here's Vinny, he's a sex criminal. Or like whatever they say about Italian people. I don't know what the Italian stereotypes are. And even as an adult, like I'll go to a party and they're like, Sully's here, hide the booze. Or they'd be like, oh, Sal's coming over, we better call the cops preemptively before he rubs up against all the women inappropriately and makes everybody uncomfortable. Or whatever they say about Italian people. I really don't know what their stereotypes are. And then I'll show up and they're like, oh no, here comes Ken. Hey Ken, don't pillage. I don't know anything about history or geography to really say anything about you. So I'm like, that's fine, that's fine. Oddly, there are some elements in my Norwegian family that harbor racist views, and surprisingly, in the Northeast. And so I've heard pretty much every racial slur there is, and two of their favorite ones are really odd to me. They say Italian and Arab, which is weird because you're just mispronouncing the correct term. Does that make it a racial slur all of a sudden? Like you can't be like, I'm driving and this African American cuts me off. Like that just sounds like you're from Chicago. Like that's not even, you can't be like, well, you know who runs Hollywood? All the J-U's. Well, actually that one's kind of offensive. That one works a little bit. I apologize for that. My wife is an ethnic person. She's from England, which makes her English. You guys are a little slow, but that's all right. And every Thanksgiving's coming up, and they don't have Thanksgiving in England, which is kind of why we have it. And so what we do is we tell my family every year that we're going to England for Thanksgiving, and then we don't. So we sit at home and we watch Newhart, and it's great. It's really more in the tradition of the original Thanksgiving in that we're escaping tyranny and oppression. But if you marry a foreign person in America, you have to fill out all this paperwork for the government, and there's weird questions. Like one of the questions was, have you in the past, do you presently or do you plan to in the future participate in prostitution? Which is a weird question because she didn't have a job yet, so that was kind of limiting. And then the second question was, in the past 1935 to August 1945, were you a member of the Nazi Party? Which is such a weird question. And all I could think of, I was like, man, I'm so glad that relationship with that 87-year-old German whore didn't work out. So it would have been like twice as much paperwork for me, and I don't have that kind of time. We are thinking about getting a dog, and we've gone to the shelters and looked around, and everyone has their favorite breed. And a lot of the breeds don't have tails, but they're not born without tails. They actually cut them off. And when I'm like, why does that dog not have a tail? You cut that tail off. And they're like, that's the breed. That's how the breed is. That's not how the breed is if you cut their tail off. That's like saying, hey, Frank, I noticed all your girlfriends always have black eyes. And he's like, that's women. That's how they are. That's terrible. Thanks a lot, everybody, tonight.
Thank you, Ken. All right, we'll be right back with Ken right after this.